At the end of the day, we have access to over 150 million US subscribers. The equipment that we're using right now in the US, that equipment will also work internationally. It's very easy for us to go international. We just need to have a local customer who wants to pay for that traffic. And then you have Vitalik getting up on stage and singing Castle in the Sky. But by and large, that's the little bit of levity you get. And then everybody else in Ethereum is really, really serious. But fun and Solana are peanut butter and chocolate. Everybody seems to be having fun because the orientation is on welcoming new people in. By and large, the end user facing stuff is actually really accessible.
Well, guys, welcome to the newly named Building in Public podcast. Excited to have you back on here. I think it's the second time I've had Rich on and third time XNET because we did an episode in person with Sean at the DePIN Summit. But always great to have you guys back on and chat about all things DePIN, all things XNET. I think our audience is probably pretty aware of what you're doing in terms of what you're building and the market segment you're going after. So I want to jump in actually on the super interesting, juicy stuff, and then maybe circle back to XNET as a whole, or we'll kind of arrive there by talking about all the really interesting stuff. So let's talk about what I've seen most recently, on Twitter and just in the ecosystem community channels, which is the large token burns that are coming from demand that are happening. So whether it's Sean or whether it's Rich, either of you guys want to chat about what was the motivation behind ZIP 10? What's the impact on the token supply? And kind of where do you see this plan playing out over the next couple months and the next year?
I'm going to let Sean jump in on that since this is really a foundation thing, not so much an XNET Inc. thing. But
for sure.
Yeah, I can hop in. ZIP 10, let's see. I think it was proposed 2-3 weeks ago. And it wasn't even necessarily, it was part of our first big governance proposal. Obviously, we had the foundation launch with the SOL migration. So ZIP 10 was the first kind of community-driven big ZIP post the migration. And yeah, very high level, the goal is to cut XNET supply down to the billion, maybe 850 million range. And yeah, it's linked to our data emissions. So basically what we're emitting for data per epoch. Currently operators get 50 XNET for every gigabyte that our carrier pays us for. And yeah, there's right now there's a multiple that scales down over time, and the supply should go from 2.4 billion to around 1 billion in I think the next 2 months by January. So pretty exciting stuff. It's obviously heavily data driven, so it's based on how many gigabytes XNET actually offloads in that sort of time period. We call it epochs. So yeah, if that goes down, then the supply burned is reduced as well. But if gigabytes keep going up, then that number will scale up accordingly as well. It's pretty exciting stuff. It's community driven to address a multiple of things.
Yeah, and data just keeps going up. So we keep shipping data, and without getting into details, we're likely to have some more customers coming online soon. I think, at least I can't promise that, but we may have more paid data customers coming into the mix even during the period in which this burn is happening. So lots of data. Lots of burning, and it certainly is exciting from the perspective of our community, and it got a lot of attention. So yeah, it's cool.
100%. Yeah, and what I like about it is that it really is based off of the kind of paid demand that's coming into the system. Yeah. So Rich, maybe talk a bit about that. And this is probably where we get to the what is XNET? What are you guys doing? Piece is how much kind of data demand's coming in. What types of customers and how are you all serving them, right? Why are they paying you for your services?
That's right. So for those of you who don't know, XNET is the world's very best decentralized neutral host mobile operator. I know it's a mouthful, but in the last month or two, over 1 million phones like this connected to our network. We've served terabytes of data. And the thing is, of all those millions of people, million plus people, I'm guessing 99.9% had no idea they were using XNET because they were just pulling out their phone or it was even in their pocket and they thought they were on their parent carrier network. So let's say I don't know, you're a Cricket Wireless subscriber, or you're an AT&T subscriber. Um, you would just look down at your phone, it would say Cricket Wireless or AT&T, but in fact, what would happen is that phone would be connected through our network, and the data is actually flowing through our network. And we as XNET are getting paid for every gigabyte of that data, right? That's the really awesome thing. The radio that your phone is connected to, that say Wi-Fi access point, that's operated by somebody in your community, right? Maybe somebody you know. And they're getting rewarded with 50 XNET per gigabyte of every gigabyte that flows through that radio that we get paid for. And then we take that fiat money that comes in from our customers. So when we say customer, we mean a big mobile network operator or a big virtual mobile network operator. They pay us and we take 80% of that and we use it to buy our token off the market and burn it. And then in addition, we have the ZIP-10 burning that's also happening right now. Whereas the gigabytes flow, extra XNET is getting burned. So it's a really exciting time to be an XNET deployer. There'll never be a better time to be an XNET deployer because as we're giving you those XNET, the actual total supply is going down. So it's kind of like, the fraction of the XNET that you're getting right now is actually going up. So it's a pretty exciting thing.
100%. And I wanted to follow up there about like, how many customers would you say there are potentially, right? Because I mean, maybe let's just talk about the US for starters. I know you guys have plans to expand internationally eventually, but in the US, right, there's like 3 or 4 MNOs, but then you also mentioned that MVNOs
yeah.
could be your clients. So maybe for our listeners that aren't super telco native, like what's the difference between those 2 customer segments? And then also like roughly how many customers or potential customers are in each?
Right. So I think one of the most kind of a good number to keep in your head is there's about 300 million phone subscribers in the US, give or take. Now, that might be you having 2 separate phone subscriptions to different services, right? So we might be double counting some people, right? But 300 million is a pretty good round number, right? Just with one of our customers, we have access to 140 million of those folks, just with one, right? It's a big one, actually the very biggest. And then through a bunch of MVNOs. And so what an MVNO is think of it as like a brand. So, hey, I've got Mint Mobile. Well, what is Mint Mobile? Mint Mobile is a brand. It's actually under the hood. It's actually T-Mobile. Basically, it's a brand that resells T-Mobile's network, right? So if you have Mint Mobile, you're actually indirectly a T-Mobile subscriber. You're using their network, right? And the thing about these MVNOs is there's a bunch of them, and some of them are really big. So we have also signed up the second largest MVNO in the US as a direct customer. And then we have a bunch of MVNOs that actually utilize the native networks of our big MNO customers. So at the end of the day, we have access to over 150 million US subscribers, which say those subscribers' phones will automatically connect to our network, right? And that's really exciting. And here's the other thing. There's a whole bunch, there's only basically 3 big MNOs in the US, right? That's AT&T, T-Mobile, and Verizon. It is quite likely that we will end up with direct deals with 2 of those. We already have a direct deal with one. Verizon is, for a bunch of reasons, is unlikely to make a direct offload deal with us, but I can go into that later. That's just how they roll. That being said, there are dozens of these MVNOs. The cool thing about MVNOs from our perspective is they're really, really hungry for offload data. And the reason is that it costs them a whole bunch per gigabyte to serve their customers, right? Because when Mint uses T-Mobile's network, they don't give it up for free, right? In fact, they basically mark it up about 100%, right? So Mint's paying much, much more than T-Mobile is natively, if you will, than it costs T-Mobile. And so an MVNO is really, really hungry for something like XNET because we can make them a much better deal than they're getting from their parent carrier. So we're really excited about signing up MVNOs because not only is it millions and millions of additional customers who will connect, subscribers who will connect to our network, right? But the value of those gigabytes in dollar terms is actually a lot higher. when we sign them up. So we're going to be aggressively going after US, MVNOs, as well, of course, as making deals with international MNOs and MVNOs. And I'm really excited to say I can't name which one, but it looks like we are in progress on our first international MNO deal, which means those customers, when they come to the US, would their phones will hop on XS network, and we may also be deploying XNET in kind of a native way in the home country of this carrier as well. And again, until we actually have something that's signed and all that, I'm not going to say more. But again, it shows the value and it shows our growth.
Right. So I hadn't thought about, international MNO customers coming into the US and then roaming onto XNET. I think that makes a lot of sense. But in terms of,
here's the secret for all of you out there. When you take your phone, I keep putting my phone away. When you so let's say that you are on, I'm just going to pick a network kind of at random. Imagine you're an AT&T customer here in the US, right? It's going to cost AT&T, we'll call it between, say, about 50 cents to put a gigabyte of data to your phone. But let's say you go to, I don't know, Germany, and you're using not AT&T in Germany because AT&T isn't in Germany. You have to use Deutsche Telekom or another local network there, right? What do you think that local network is charging AT&T? It's charging AT&T like $5 or $6, or maybe even more per gigabyte, right? It's kind of insane. And by the way, that's what AT&T charges their customers when they come to the US. So it's reciprocity. But imagine that, we could offer those, imagine it was Deutsche Telekom, we could offer them, hey, come to the US, we're only going to charge you $1, right? For that data. Well, $1 is a lot for us. That's more than we would get potentially from other customers. Actually, we might get that from local MVNOs. So maybe it's $2, right? So I'm going to charge you $2. It's still a heck of a deal for them, right? So this is why these international customers or international subscribers are extremely lucrative, and while controlling those international roaming costs is actually a very high priority for the carriers.
For sure. And then in terms of kind of native boots on the ground deployments, potentially in other countries, would you be looking to use kind of the Wi-Fi protocol and Wi-Fi hardware, or would you be looking to use like more cellular spectrum?
So both would be great. We're building a hybrid network because both licensed and unlicensed spectrum add a lot of value. But one of the wonderful things about Wi-Fi is it's, I think, 193 jurisdictions worldwide where you can basically take a Wi-Fi router, plop it down, turn it on, and it works legally, right? So there are some places where the bands need to get reconfigured, like it kind of needs to know where it is. But Wi-Fi basically works pretty much everywhere. And what that means is that, the equipment that we're using right now in the US, that equipment will also work internationally. In fact, I was in Singapore with Shaan at some big crypto conferences recently, and we plugged in an XNET configured, Alta Labs Wi-Fi access point, and there was a whole bunch of US subscribers in that room, and their phones started connecting, right? So this stuff works everywhere. And so it's very easy for us to go international. We just need to have a local customer who wants to pay for that traffic. So that's the exciting thing. It's an easy opportunity. And then we also want to collaborate with local mobile network operators who have access to spectrum and help them utilize their spectrum better through our LTE radios.
100%. Yeah, I think that was at the IoTeX event. That was really cool to see that work in person. Shout out IoTeX for that. But
yes, IoTeX is awesome.
The big news maybe about 6 months ago now, which I think kicked off a lot of you all's recent momentum and progress, was the move from Polygon to Solana. So Rich, I'm curious from your perspective, like obviously the decision's made, you guys are happy with it, but how has it been kind of being ingrained in the Solana ecosystem so far? How do you like the tech? How do you like the culture? All of that.
It's amazing. So the Solana culture is just freaking awesome. Like I love how positive everybody is. I love how there's a feeling that we're all building something together. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm a crufty old Ethereum developer, right? And on Ethereum, everybody is sort of very, very, very serious, right? And it's all about kind of thinking deep thoughts and big challenging technical hard questions and stuff like the merge, which by the way was incredible, right? And then you have Vitalik getting up on stage and singing Castle in the Sky. But by and large, that's the little bit of levity you get. And then everybody else in Ethereum is really, really serious. But it's not really super friendly. And I think that fun and Ethereum aren't things that sort of go naturally together. But fun and Solana are it's like peanut butter and chocolate. Like everybody seems to be having fun. And not only that, because there's so much excitement, and because the orientation is on welcoming new people in, by and large, the end user facing stuff is actually really accessible. The design standards are really high. The wallets are great. It's just really easy to sort of ape in and do stuff. And that's an orientation that Ethereum has never really had. Even on Polygon, which is an Ethereum virtual machine based stack, they talked at one point. The Polygon Foundation talked about how they were going to have all these collaborations with Starbucks and so forth, kind of end user brands, but it never really got off the ground. But you kind of feel the energy on Solana, and the Solana technical team is great. We've had wonderful support from the Solana Foundation. Couldn't be happier. I mean, also the flip side is that Solana is moving really, really fast. Like Solana keeps building and developing their core infrastructure, which means that the code base is in wildly different phases of maturity. And as a developer, it's a challenge. You basically have to read the source code. Like the documentation right now is not all that consistent. But as long as you have the chops to go and dive into the source code, and you have access to wonderful support, which the Solana Foundation has provided us, building there is great.
That's awesome. And then Shaan, for you've been pretty instrumental in both getting the kind of culture and community built out within Solana, but also getting the foundation stood up. I've seen a ton of growth on socials and community in terms of just, numbers of followers, engagement, all of that stuff. So how's the move to Solana been for you, and how's kind of the work been of just building socials, building community for XNET and the foundation?
It's been exciting. I mean, when we ported over to Solana, it almost felt, it did. I think it is a new start. Kind of a lot of the points Rich made, there's like spokespeople on Solana, right? People pushing narratives, people excited to build communities. I think sort of the meme coin super cycle was a huge part of bringing all that excitement to Solana. But other than that, a lot of apps are being built as well. I think all the top DPINs are on Solana. A bunch of cool DeFi stuff is on Solana. So it's been pretty cool. Obviously we recently also announced XNET Foundation funding led by Pantera, Modular, and also Ansem. So that was pretty cool. That being one of his first DePIN investments. Obviously he's like one of the biggest spokesperson of Solana, spokespeople. So yeah, man, it's been exciting. You can throw ideas out. Another exciting thing coming up, XNET is launching on one of Solana's biggest DeFi protocols. And I don't know when this podcast will come out, but we're going live there tomorrow. So I'll make that announcement here. But yeah, man, it's just like,
which protocol?
I don't know. It's Kamino Finance will be live on Kamino tomorrow.
Super cool.
So
it's lending and borrowing, right?
Yep. Liquidity providing, and yeah, it's going to be great. I don't know. There's just a culture. It's like you see vision and like, go get it, go build it. Seems like nothing's impossible in Solana. You can reach out. People will come help you. A lot of the people that are sort of interning right now for the foundation side as well have just been long time sort of Solana degens, and they're just hungry, right? Like they're just getting stuff done. So it's pretty exciting, and I don't think these opportunities exist really on the EVM side of the world. Even I guess like bringing new eyes in retail. I think Phantom soared to a top 5 app in the App Store.
Yeah.
Or I think it's like top 10 as of today.
Scary.
They're building Moonshot. Moonshot allows anyone with Apple Pay to download their app and start just buying coins, which is like that UI UX isn't present anywhere. Like no normal person can just, scan their face, load their Apple Pay up and buy a coin. So I think a lot of exciting things are going to happen, and it's the Apple of blockchains, right? So
it is the Apple of blockchains. And, right now there's this massive meme coin super cycle, which has been so much fun to watch. Like, I just keep getting my mind blown. Like, oh, there's some random AI that's making a meme coin. Okay, cool. Oh, there's this kid who thought they were rugging everybody with quant, and then they themselves, anyway, like all this crazy stuff. And, on the one hand, I'm a little frustrated because it's been kind of distracting people from, hey, we're building utility, like, real utility, long-term value. On the other hand, the flip side is that this is generating so much excitement that I think we're starting to see the early edge of the normies, the retail folks coming in. Are they going to be coming into Polygon? Are they going to be coming into some random L2 or L3 on Ethereum? I don't think so. I think they're going to be coming in so they can, ape into to quant or to, whatever the current need of the moment is. And that's going to be the gateway to get these folks into crypto. And once they're here, I think they're going to look around and they're going to say, oh, this is cool. I mean, memes are cool, but what else is there, right? And I think that we're going to say, hey, how about you help us build the next generation of infrastructure, right? And not just with XNET, of course. We're talking about all the great, deep in projects. So I think this is, in my mind, this is what's going to bring the people in. They'll come for the memes, and I think they'll stay for the utility. And don't get me wrong, memes are great, but it's a casino, right? I don't know how well you've done trading memes. I suck at it.
It's hard.
I'm not doing great, in part because I'm not as plugged in maybe as some other folks. On the other hand, in terms of like utility plays and long-term stuff, it's going great. And I think we're going to be super well positioned as things start to rotate a little bit out of the meme froth and into these longer term plays, because ultimately that's where I think people are going to want to be, because, like being in the trenches, trading your memes, like it's a full-time job, right? It's like, when you get in, when you get out, right? Versus, hey, deploy your XNET, deploy your demo, whatever, do that. It earns, right? And I think that's going to be the place for long-term stuff. And of course, that's what we're building. So we're in it for the long haul.
100%. Yeah, it's you guys' slogan is deploy, connect, earn, right? And maybe the slogan for Deepin is, earn your first crypto and don't have to buy it.
Yeah.
In terms of meme coins in a comparison. But I want to talk about scaling the supply side through 2025 and beyond. I think you guys are a bit over 1,000 or 1,500 radios kind of live right now. But there's been a lot of talk of potential kind of step function improvements in terms of supply side for both you and Helium and the other DY players from these brownfield deployments. So talk to our audience a bit about, what is a brownfield deployment and how could it allow you to 5 or 10x your number of kind of supply side radios very quickly?
So I'm just gonna, because I have it right here. So this is a Ruckus R560 radio. So you probably, if you went to, an airport lounge or I don't know, a larger facility, you might have seen something like this, up on the ceiling, right? Or you go to a university campus or whatever. This is a pretty classic enterprise access point. Equipment like this is made not just by Ruckus, of course, but by Cisco and Meraki and Aruba and many, many others. And the cool thing about this radio is that, sure, this one is sitting in my office, but there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of these radios already deployed. And this is an awesome Wi-Fi 6 radio. So there are a lot of these installations out there. Think about like a mall, a university campus, a stadium, an airport, transportation hubs, venues like this that already had this equipment installed because, of course, they need it for their operations. They want to give Wi-Fi to their customers. And because of the way XNET is set up, we can go and push one certificate essentially, because these are all centrally managed. We can go push one certificate, and then all of those radios at a venue, in addition to doing what they were doing before, will now be offloading for XNET, right? So it's practically just like a one button push. In fact, we're working with some of our vendors to make it literally that easy. In a management console, you press a button and you get XNET, and already Alto Labs is supporting that. So there's a huge opportunity here because, if you're one of these venues, right now, connectivity is a cost. You are paying for that connectivity. but why not turn it into revenue? And so there's an opportunity to just, like I said, literally 15 minutes with the IT guy, and now you're serving XNET, and now you have this revenue stream coming in. And in addition, installers who are bidding on doing new installations, right? Let's say you're an MSP and someone comes to you and says, "Hey, Connor, how much would it cost for you to, cover my strip mall?" And you would say, "Well, Rich, I could build it out for 10,000 with some great access points. But how about this? How about this? I'll only charge you 5,000, and I'll maintain it forever for free." How does that sound? I'm like, sounds great to me. You deploy it, you're maintaining it, but it's also, and of course, it's serving my strip mall's connectivity needs, but it's also offloading for exit, and you're getting the token return. So now you've gone from an installer who had a one-time sale before, and now what you're getting is recurring revenue, right? So there's all these like really interesting opportunities. And so for brownfield conversion, yes. And also for new installations of Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7 equipment, we're getting MSPs who are really excited about being able to offer this kind of option, a substantial discount to their customers and free maintenance in return for, turning on XNET, and then of course them getting the token stream.
100%. Yeah. So basically any ISP or venue or even deployer that owns a bunch of typically Wi-Fi hardware that's already deployed, it's already serving customers. That part's all good, but basically you can add their whole network to the XNET network pretty easily, pretty quickly, and then they can serve XNET customers as well and be paid XNET for
That's right.
that service.
And the really cool thing is, so it's just, sure, when you sit down at a coffee shop, at some point you might be like, oh, let me get the Wi-Fi password for my laptop. But everybody who goes through there with a phone, or you go to the mall, and you're walking around the mall, like, you might at some point figure out how to get on the mall's Wi-Fi. But think about all the people who are at the mall, using their phones. If all those phones are automatically connecting, right, then tons of data is flowing, right? And all of those now, mall customers are getting 5 bars of signal. Everything is working great. And of course, what's happening is that, a lot of tokens are being generated. And so that makes everybody happy. The end user is getting a much better experience. The mall has better connectivity, for their customers. So people are happy because they can go to the mall and they can drink their bubble tea and they can stream it on TikTok or Insta, right? And the installer who put in that equipment is thrilled because potentially they're getting the tokens, and the mall is thrilled because maybe they're getting a token split, or maybe they got a great discount on the cost of the radio equipment or its maintenance. So it's a win all the way around, and yeah, that's why we're really excited about this. And part of why we raised that money is we're going to be hiring some folks who dedicated site acquisition and focus on these bigger venues and installations. So we're very excited about that as a possibility going forward.
That is awesome. Yeah, that'll be great to kind of pad the supply side.
Yeah,
just growth numbers and really just ramp those. So we've covered a lot today. I think what I didn't know is that the Kamino Finance kind of launched tomorrow, which is super exciting. Is there anything else we didn't cover that you guys wanted to hit in terms of topics or announcements or anything else?
One minor thing, we're going to be turning on SpherePay soon on our shop, and this will let basically you use pretty much any SPL token that has monetary value or Solana to buy stuff at our store. So that's going to be exciting. Cool. Who knows? Maybe by the time this podcast ships, that'll be turned on. So again, it's going to be even easier to use your crypto to deploy XNET, because you can use your crypto to get the gear, and then you can earn more crypto. So, there you go.
Foundation, there's a lot of exciting things coming. Obviously, DeFi integrations. XNET will likely be entering its sex era. Maybe by the end of the year, maybe in January. A lot of stuff moving there. A lot of people are excited. So that's all cool. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's going to be an exciting cycle ahead. Next 3-4 months, developing some apps and stuff as well. Talk to Rich about that, so a lot more people can get involved. Like maybe, a rando normie walks in the coffee shop, is connected to XNET, and randomly gets a ping on their phone. saying, oh, like you're eligible for a small XNET airdrop. So I think the possibility here is pretty much infinite. XNET alone could onboard the next 100 million users to Solana. So we're going to make it happen. And yeah, just let's accelerate, keep going.
100%. Well, super exciting stuff. Where would you like to point our listeners to on the internet to find out more about XNET and the foundation and what you guys are building?
Well, I think you should definitely jump on X, formerly Twitter, and you should check out at XNET_mobile and at XNET_ it's FDN, right? XNET_FDN for the foundation. Yeah. Two great places to go. I am at DeVaul if you want to follow my random tweets. And by the way, this will take you to all the other parts of XNET. From there, you can find our store, you can find everything else. And then, of course, at some point, you should jump on our Discord because that's where the community is really centered and a lot of the action takes place.
That's where the alpha is. All right, guys, thanks for coming on. This was great and excited to get the episode out over the next couple weeks or so.
Thank you, Connor. You're awesome. We love being here. And thank you to everybody who's watching. Come join us at XNET.